Hey everybody, but I love you here, and welcome to episode 1 of Ult in 10 Seconds, a show where you learn from the pros on how to become a better player. And today I have with me Nhat Nguyen from Epic Gamer playing Janna. Nhat, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Nhat Nguyen. I play support for Team Epic Gamer, the North American team. I guess this is my Janna game.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Um, well, to start everything off, I noticed you're playing a little passive here in the beginning, and why is that?
There's not much Janna can do early game, and Kog'Maw's also really weak until he hits about level 4 or 5. Early on, I warded that side brush through the wall just to get vision, because I didn't know where they're coming from, and I had a feeling that if they took double buffs or double golems from bottom lane, that they'd walk through side brush. So I early warded that spot right there to the left, so that I'd get vision when they come out of there, but it looks like they didn't actually go through that area.
Yeah, I know ganking bottom pretty early is really strong. It's kind of sets your AD really far back, and warding early is a lot of things, or is a one thing that people usually don't do.
Yeah,
So that's actually, very smart. And
yeah.
since you picked Jaina, is there a reason you picked her for this? Or is it just, did you get counterpicked with Tarek, or did you counterpick specifically for this team?
I think I was one of the first picks in this game, but a lot of times Janna is good against Taric. Taric has that nice stun, and Sivir can follow up with their boomerang, and it does a lot of damage, and using your shield can kind of negate that damage, but also the bonus damage of the shield really helps Kog'Maw scale into late game, mid to late game, because it gives enough AD damage to be about 1 BF sword once you have a level 5 shield. So that damage advantage really helps you out, as well as the HP advantage that the shield gives you.
Yeah, I'd imagine Kog'Maw would need that help. I know he's pretty much on par with Ashe with difficulty early game trying to last hit. And I know I always usually have problems with that as well.
Yeah, you can really negate the sustain that other champions have just by good shielding. Zolfar's never really gets, or the Kog'Maw player never really gets below half too often because the shield just helps him out. So whenever I shield, gets a chance to do damage, take a little bit of damage, and then walk away free. And he never drops too low. He also started um, boots 3 pots, I think, this game. No, actually, he started cloth armor 5 pots, so he's pretty tanky. And so sustain isn't a problem when you're using Janna when your AD carry is actually using cloth armor and then 5 potions to heal up.
Yeah, it's kind of really funny when you see, people who run with a Jaina, they run Dorn's Blade, which, I
Yeah,
mean, I guess in its own right can help if you're trying to get early kills, but since, just like you said, Kog'Maw's not that strong early, it's kind of necessary for them to get that health.
yeah.
Now, Janna, I always hear a lot of people complain that she's not really that strong with support. I've always believed her to be the strongest, if not one of the strongest. How do you feel on her?
I think Janna is really strong. It just depends on how good your AD player is. Again, if he takes too much damage and starts a Doran's Blade, if Zelfar's got hit to half HP, he probably couldn't be able to last it anymore because he's so afraid of getting hit more and dying. And that's probably one of the biggest problems people have with playing Janna or playing with the Janna is how much damage they take and how much they can't forgive for the damage that they take while they try to last hit. So at least Zelfar's is using HP pots, like he's already used 2 HP pots, and all I do is shield him, and he's already close to 100% HP again.
Do
So
you
health pots help when you're using Janna.
do you think people kind of don't really understand the mind game that goes on at bottom? Like, they kind of take chip and shrug. Well, at least at lower elo, they kind of take chip and shrug it off and not really worry about it since there's so many
Yeah.
supports that heal now, and they don't really understand when it's smart to go in, when it's smart not to go in. And do you think it's
Yeah, a
important
lot.
for the support player to know, when it is smart to go in and kind of lead the AD in if he doesn't understand that?
Yeah, a lot of people think supporting is just like, oh, it's worry about yourself. You put down wards, you heal your guy, and then you're good to go. And that's all. It's heal ward or shield or stun, or use your CC. But really, you have to also think about the 2 other players on the other side. Like when you're playing solo mid or solo top, all you have to worry about is the person in front of you and the potential for someone to come from the side and gank you. But when you're playing bottom lane, you have to worry about 3 other people and then the potential of a gank. So it's a lot more predicting of 2 players rather than just one. And
Also,
that's where it's a little bit more difficult to play support.
Yeah, I also
Once you're
noticed
not
you.
synced up with your AD or you're not synced up with the other enemy bottom lane. If you don't notice that they're being aggressive and you get stunned, you might just die because you weren't paying attention enough to the right person.
Yeah, and on that note, I noticed you also have Teddy RO, which is quite known for his Shaco and his TF in the beginning of the season, where he was, I think, ranked one for a while.
Yeah,
Also, you have to be kind of aware of, when he comes in for ganks, because that's, I mean, potentially a four-man gank, which is really strong in the bottom lane,
yep.
which I believe he's coming in for a gank right now, and you
The
and you
pings are
notice that
coming.
right here. If you want
Yep.
to commentate on this part real quick.
And so what I do right here is I actually initiate on their AD carry because if I initiate on their Taric, who's much tankier, then we're probably not going to get the kill. And at the same time, the Sivir can just turn on us and attack us because the main DPS on the bottom lane is always the AD. If you happen to neutralize the AD, then the support is actually not doing any damage because he didn't really build damage at all. So whenever you engage on bottom lane or ganks coming, you want to focus the AD player. He's squishier usually, unless you're playing like a Soraka or a Sona, and the damage goes away once you kill the AD.
Right, because he has to run away or fight,
Yeah,
and usually most of the time they'll run away.
yeah.
Well, we have a question here from Jake Hanu from Reddit, and he's asked if you were to take someone who knows absolutely nothing about supports in League of Legends and then have them learn five, what order do you think they should be learned?
What order? I'd probably say uh,
An
Taric,
ally has been
Sona,
slain.
Janna, Soraka, and then probably Alistar. All of them have a sustain except for Janna. I think I said Janna third, and that's because Janna has the same kind of principles as Taric. Sona has really good sustain for second. And then Soraka is just like an easy version of Sona, and Alistar is probably the more advanced version of Taric because Taric has that range stun, but Alistar has to walk in the stun and get in range to take damage. So you really have to know what you can do
Oh,
or how much you can take.
right here, I'd like to point out that most supports don't actually do this. They don't help their AD's last hit under tower, and
Yeah,
if you notice that Nat is actually like hitting the caster minions once, as the towers is going to hit it, so the AD carry can always get it, and that is a really huge thing I know during ranked is being able to help your AD and having your AD at least notice that. Because
yeah,
I know a lot of games where I play, they don't even pay attention to what you're doing, and you set up all these minions perfectly for one hit, and they just kind of shrug it off.
yeah. That's something actually Dan didn't got mad about when I was playing support for him when he switched over to AD for a short time. He's like, help me last hit at this tower more. Because I used to just let the AD take care of it. And that's how it used to go, at least in solo queue. The ADs would get mad if you ever touched a minion, because it messed up their prediction. But I started to learn that, or at least with Dan, that last scene on tower helped him out a lot. And it's like, all you have to do is you wait for the tower to focus a minion. It'll bring up that little attack line, and that's when you know the tower's going to attack that minion. So you just sync up one hit for the caster minion, and I think the ADs are strong enough to do it on their own for the melee minions. But here's a team fight, and all I'm doing is trying to support whoever's nearby. I can't save Pity RO. Maybe I could use my ultimate to get X special away, but I just use it for myself. And I also have my summoner heal, and I don't burn it yet, because I don't
An
think even
enemy
if I
has
use the
been
summoner heal or
slain.
my ultimate that I could save Teddy. And I get away from X special pretty nicely there, the R
Double
replay.
kill.
And in the meantime, my AD partner Zolfars is just cleaning up bottom. So I think that was a 1-for-2 trade there.
Yeah, it kind
I
of
can go
seemed like
back to
a
defend, yeah. And
kind of
right
seemed.
here, I also juke the brush and try to get away and get my cooldowns up. I actually missed my tornado, but I still walk out free because Ari's burst isn't strong enough to take me down.
Well, strong enough, yeah.
Yeah,
um, I'd like to talk about actually one thing that you do that you kind of feel is kind of lacking from most supports. Like, what do you feel that's special as a support in bottom lane that most people don't really notice or really don't know about?
and that's probably last seen on tower or knowing when they engage. A lot of times, like if you have a friend that starts playing this game, you're like, "Oh, let's go attack this guy," and he doesn't attack him, and it's because he's not sure of how much damage he does or if he's gonna die when he
An
does do it.
enemy has been
And
slain.
all this game is experience. If you don't play the game enough, you're not gonna know when the best time to attack is or how strong you are. And actually, X Special right now is trying to chase us do tower, but we can kind of defend it really easily. Shields and a knockup is why Janet is so strong right now.
Do you actually, well, I know most teams already do this, but I know lately it's mostly been on the supports role. Do you, of course, you time Dragon, you time Baron. Do you time your own buffs, or do you let your jungler do that? Do you also time any wards? Like, for instance, if you see them put a ward down a river, do you jot it down, let your team know when it's gone, or anything like
Hmm.
that?
I actually don't do the ward timer. I just have a good feel of when they're gonna go down. I think Dan doesn't even time dragon, but he has a good feel when it should be up. So it's on EG. Everyone's just kind of on instinct. We're like, yep, blue or red should be up right about now. But some of the like easy things that you can do for timing dragon is, dragon usually comes up 1 minute after blue, because usually the purple sided team, the top sided team will get their blue, and then they'll get a dragon a minute later, after the second round of spawn, and that's around 7:40, the blue will spawn, and then at 8:40, they'll probably go for an early dragon if they want that control, at least in competitive games. It doesn't happen much in solo queue, but these are some of the numbers or the times that I notice, when we're playing competitive games. The
Right, right.
7:40 blue, and then the 8:40 dragon.
Well, I also know people always complain that people only play supports because they feel like they can't carry a game with it. But I
Mhm.
know there's some things like timing dragon, kind of trying to force your team to do dragon. Like you can do some control kind of things with support, and also you can kind of lead your team as a support, which I
Yeah.
know is really huge. At least in lower ELO, about 1,000 to 1,800. I know it really helps. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
A lot of times people don't know when they're strong enough to do dragon. The simple thing is to wait for a kill bottom. If you get one kill bottom or you kill the jungler, it's a good time to go get dragon if your jungler is nearby. I think that's probably the best thing, and that's what happens in most solo queue games. Like if there's no kills bottom, if there's no kills on the jungler, no dragons are going to get taken for a long time. Only when you're on a competitive team and you can clear wards, then you know that you can take dragons. But in these solo queue games, it's harder to time dragon with people you don't know.
How do you feel about oracles and pink wards? Do you ever? I'm assuming you only do it against like while you're playing as a team.
Yeah,
How often do you usually try to get that early pink ward for an early dragon, or maybe an early oracles if they're warding heavily?
yeah. The purpose of a pink ward is to make something happen and to take away vision. Sure, you can take away vision, but that costs you an extra 25 gold. But I think the bigger reason to get a pink ward is if you want to be really aggressive. So if you buy a pink ward just to remove vision, you're actually not being that cost effective. Because if you don't make anything happen with that lack of vision, like deny them CS or deny them life, I guess, when you get a kill, then it's really not worth it to buy a pink early. It's nice to have brush control, but if nothing happens from it, you just wasted 25 gold by killing one ward, and you had to pay 125 for that ward, and you only got 25 back. So just buying a normal ward would have been fine.
Right, that's actually really smart. I've actually never thought of it that way. If you're not gonna make something happen with it, then what's the point? And I see a fight going on down here. Do you want to explain what's happening?
Oh, so they engaged on Zelfars. That's the right move. Again, they attacked our AD, so we couldn't do much damage. And then the Sivir tries to dive, but ends up not getting the kill because I just shield, knock back, knock up, and then it's all fine. I actually could have got a kill on the Sivir, I think, but I wasn't auto attacking enough. I think she was one hit away or something like that.
Oh, I still see you did a really good job with
Yeah.
knockups. You also procced her shield with your W, so Pogba could at least like slow her maybe or hit her with
Yeah.
ult.
And here Teddy Aro comes in to try the gank. He actually doesn't get there fast enough, and this turns into a bad situation. Zelfars gets pulled by Skarner and killed. I try to shield him, but he doesn't get out. And I'm trying to help Teddy, but he's taking tower damage too much. And I think Ari is gonna come and take me out too.
Yeah, it looks like a
He just
0-3
rotates.
exchange
Yeah,
right there.
he does a few dashes in and we're down. That was a kind of a bad dive. We just followed up on Teddy RO, and he teleported in and couldn't catch the Sivir. And we tried to follow up to help too, and that ended up bad. Our Kog'Maw was already low from that first tower fight, and we were just trying to bait him out, see what would happen if we could get a lucky catch, and it just ended up really bad.
I actually have another question here from Mom5 from Reddit. He asks, who is your favorite non-traditional support? I know as this meta came out, a lot of people started trying, like support GP, support Ash, stuff like that. Which one's your favorite?
Hmm. I think I have four that are really fun to play, and because they have their own play styles. Like support Shaco can uh, have high cooldowns, max boxes first, and box up the lane, so that you're pretty much invincible to a gank. If the jungler comes too far into a nest of boxes, the gank will turn around and he'll die. If I play support Nunu, I can go at level 1, I can consume like the big wraith that's nearby, or like a small golem. If I played Heimerdinger, I can have a lot of HP regen because the passive on Heimer is 10 HP per 5, and it scales up throughout the game. And once you get the Emblem of Valor, the one piece to Starks, then you get an extra 10. And when you get Starks, it's like an extra 25. And so the heals of Heimer through the passive HP per second is actually as good as healing. And then I think my last is York, and he's just a really interesting. He's just like an in-your-face support, and you just try to spam your ghouls all day long to get some damage off and harass.
I
As
noticed
good as
you.
MF4.
Well, on the terms of that question, is there certain non-traditional sports you run against certain comps, or is it just like whenever you're playing with an AD that you know that you can play,
Yeah.
something non-traditional?
All of my non-sustained supports rely on a good AD that's not going to take too much damage. I think a lot of times, again, it's just like Janna. If your AD takes too much damage and you can't sustain it, then you're just gonna lose the lane, because once you get chipped about 50% and you don't have any more HP pots, it's too difficult to last hit. You just keep getting hit and hit and hit, and they have the chance to just do one stun and probably kill you from 50% without any healing.
Right, right. I noticed in this little fight that just happened, you definitely did a lot of knockups, a lot of auto
Yeah,
attacks to help your team, which potentially, or actually helped kill that Skarner, which was really nice.
yeah. And right here, I push him into the tower because I feel like we can get a good kill if Teddy lands his stun, and he does. So I'll push him to the tower. He gets stunned under the tower and takes that DPS. Like, the Silver probably could have got one shot onto Ace Reaper here, the Shyvana player, and killed him. But I was just betting on getting the kill. It didn't matter to me if Ace Reaper lost his double buff or not. I just wanted to go for the kill.
And yeah, like things like that, like moves like that, are something that kind of separate a good support from a really good support. Is knowing, when you can be kind of aggressive like that, knock them into tower, which
Yeah.
got you a kill, which is amazing. It shuts their AD carry down a little bit.
It was pretty calculated. We had 3 or 4 people around, so if I hit him in the tower and he took 1 or 2, then he's gonna be pretty low. He's an AD carry without much armor, so I was pretty confident that we could get a kill, but maybe we had to sacrifice our jungler, but that's okay for me.
Well, I noticed that a couple of minutes ago, once that fight happened over at Blue against that Skarner, you guys kind of transitioned from early game to mid game.
Mhm.
And do you typically leave your AD at bottom and you go roaming around, or just depend on who it is? Maybe you sit there and
Yeah.
babysit a little longer, or how do you normally know when you're able to start roaming around with your
Yeah.
bruisers and start picking up kills?
At that point, I felt like my AD carry was strong enough to, just handle bottom lane himself, and so I just wanted to roam around, ward around the map, maybe pick up kills, because no one expects, at least right now in the current meta, no one expects the support player to go and roam and get a gank. One of the things I like to do sometimes as Taric is just go gank top randomly, like at level 6. Because if you land this random stun that the top lane's not expecting, and you use your ultimate to boost AD AP and do shatter the reduced armor, you usually get a kill, especially if your jungler's there too. So you started off with the support getting the stun, the Taric getting the stun, and then the jungler and top lane follow up.
Right, yeah, and especially Janna, I mean, she has a built-in slow, she has a knock-up, she has a built-in BS sword on her, she has so many things that her kit
Yep.
that make her so strong for gank, even though she doesn't have a stun.
Yeah, and right now I have an Oracle too. So we're even stronger now. I can clear the map. We lost our bottom lane tower, so it's a good time for me to buy my Oracle because we lose that vision, and they're trying to ward deep on us to get an advantage. So if I can walk around and clear these deep wards around bottom, then it puts our team in a really good position. And since we don't have this tower the last hit on, it's also another good time to go clear wards.
Do you normally feel comfortable? I know when people buy oracles, they're kind of scared just based on their health. They don't want to lose it. Do you usually? I mean, you're not even running flash this game, so it's even more. I mean, I guess scary to actually have one. Do you always feel comfortable with just having a heart of gold as your health item to keep your health up enough to not lose your oracle quickly?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable even without flash that Janet can prevent a lot of kills. I have my heal debate, so if they do stun me or whatever and I get low, I can heal myself up, and then they have to keep hitting me even more. And this gives my AD more time to just attack the other bottom laners. And having an Oracle is not too much of a problem. Again, I feel like Janna's such a good escape artist. She has her knockup, she has a pushback, she has
An enemy
passive
has
movement
been
speed. Like
slain.
430, 440 movement speed is like you have boots and mobility, and she has that pretty much all the time.
Right, right. I have another question here from DOB Squiz, and he asks, "How can you improve your support play, and can supports carry a game?"
Um, in the short sense, I think I'll answer the last question. It's I think supports can contribute to carrying the game, but they're not actually doing the killing. All that they're doing is they're helping participate in getting a kill. Yeah.
Um, Sorry to interrupt, but right here I
An
noticed that
enemy has been
something
slain.
a lot of support players don't do is that you
An
stood
ally
in the
has
way of
been
those minions
slain.
and tanked them instead of them hitting the tower and your team losing that XP and CS.
Oh yeah. I was just trying to get the CS for myself, and I don't think I could last it on
Your
the tower
team
very
has
well.
destroyed a
But the other
turret.
thing you can do as support is just freeze the minion wave, so that like Teddy came by and just lasted him for me. And it's better than having them just go to waste on tower. Yeah.
Right, right, definitely. Um, See, we have another question here from. Actually, this is a pretty big question for. I know a lot of people are thinking about this. Is from Lucky Status on Reddit, and he asks, "What solo queue elo do you believe a player needs to achieve to be considered for a competitive team, or if anything, an elo is needed?"
I think at least 1700. I think I think everyone is capable of at least 1700. Getting higher than that is just proving your consistency over time. I don't think that there's any
Your turret
2400
has been
players that are below
destroyed.
1700 at all. You know,
Right, right.
Elo is a pretty good indicator of how consistent you are when you're playing this game. And even when you get lucky, or supposedly lucky, and get to 1900, those people usually go down over time, I guess.
Well, looks like I hear big team fights going on. If you want to commentate on this real quick.
Oh yeah, so they just engage on us, and I push away Stunner from our Kog'Maw. He actually gets stuck on the wall when I use my ultimate, and so all I do
Killing
now is
spree.
shield Kog'Maw, give him that bonus damage, and clear the area.
A big thing people always ask about is positioning during fights. How do you normally position when you're in team fights in late?
Yeah, I'm usually behind my AD carry now. If someone tries to rush at him, I use my Q to knock them up, I use my ultimate to get him away, and I use my shield just to give him the bonus damage. And he's the only person I should be really worried about, because he has higher attack speed than everyone else on my team, and he makes use of that AD damage on all of his skills.
Looks like you guys are about to go for a gank here on bottom
Hmm.
to try to clean up that easy kill. You guys have a pretty comfortable lead, so you're trying to at least roam around. And since you have
Has
that
been
oracle, you're taking
slain.
away all their sight.
Yep.
Killing
It's been a
spree.
really good game. Really good game for us.
Yeah. Actually, let me ask you real quick before this ends. How do you feel the meta is going to change or shift in the future?
I think it's a lot more aggressive than passive right now. When you're aggressive, you can control dragon, control buffs. I think that's about it.
And oh, okay. Well, I'd like to point out that Nhat
Victory.
Nguyen, he actually is streaming. If you guys haven't checked that out, he streams for about about noon to midnight, somewhere in that time every day. He
Hmm.
provides some really cool music. He provides really great commentary, like you heard just now. And if you guys haven't noticed it so far or checked it out, you definitely should. Is there anything you want to say or closing remarks, Nat?
Yeah. I'd just like to thank my team at Epic Gamer. We don't have any sponsors yet, but that's okay. We're looking for more, and I hope that for season two that we'll do really well. We're better than we have before. We got a lot of second places at MLG and IPL. Hopefully, we can take home a first somewhere along the way.
All right, you heard it. Thank everyone for watching. Remember to check out his stream. I'll have a link on the video and in the info.